Here we are. Welcome to the Golden Hour, episode number 4. I'm your host, as always, Meg LeVue. And I just listened to the last episode. Well, not really. I listened to about 28 seconds of it, actually. And it was a bit of a not a good mood. Maybe not a good mood, but like excited, but kind of anxious, kind of scared, kind of fearful, or whatever kind of bleh mood. But I'm in a much better mood today, and I'm drinking a little espresso, as I normally do around this hour. 1 coffee in the morning, 1 espresso in the afternoon. And I'm here again to share my thoughts on the photography world, running a business, what that means. Here on the Golden Hour, we riff for about an hour or so, talking about certain things like how to run a successful photography company, okay? So for all of you who may have not listened to the past, it's actually 2 episodes, but I kind of combined 1 and 2 into one long episode because I didn't know it was going to be an hour long. You can go back and listen to that whole drivel before. But in this episode, we're going to be a lot more focused. Some great things have happened in my life, and I see a lot of great things have happened within the group. So my focus for today's episode is going to be, how do you educate your clients? How do you educate your clients? Why should you care to know why you need to educate your clients? Because in the service industry, which you and I are in, the customer is always right. All right? The customer is always right. Now, here's my little riff on that, a little asterisk to that, okay? Because it's not really true that they're always right, right? So the customer is always right. In what I mean by that is, at least they need to think and feel that they are right, okay? They need to think and feel that they are right based on the information and expectations that you lay for yourself as a company, all right? So based on the information and the expectations that you lay for yourself as a company providing the service, whatever you provide in this photography realm, they can't always be right because you've laid out all the expectations, okay? So in this episode, I'm going to be touching on how myself, educate our clients so that we only deal with awesome clients, okay? Because the thing is, I think we first have to understand what I actually mean by educating your clients. When you understand the notion or the concept that education equals the filtering out of bad clients and attracting awesome ones, you're going to really fall in love with this idea. Okay, and I'm going to share a couple of ideas here, but I really want to get your wheels turning so that you can kind of take it and run with it and make it your own, okay? Second, what exactly are bad clients and what are the good clients? Well, if you haven't had a bad client experience, then you won't really be motivated at all to learn about this topic, because when you have a bad client experience, like, man, it hits you, you remember it really hard, you call that person Bridezilla or Groomzilla or whatever, just like we have those stories back here and that we keep very close to our heart. We're thankful for that experience because they paid us a lot of money. At the same time, they were kind of a nightmare because we didn't set the ground rules. We didn't have expectations for ourselves, being so young before, and we quote unquote had a bad client. Does this mean that they're a bad person? No, absolutely not. And there's many people out there and they're not bad people. They just have different expectations that is most likely your fault because you didn't set that precedent about how you expect to run your company and what you want to work for and how you want to work, and et cetera, okay? However, all right, even though you haven't had a bad client experience, you can keep listening to this if you know what's good for you. So you can be smart, kind of listen to this, kind of give yourself a heads up, okay? And I think it's really in your best interest to listen, okay? Okay, third thing, this is not a one size fits all. So if you ever think that about anything in business, you are lazy. Okay, there's never a one size fits all. There's never a time where you're going to listen to something and then bam, that word is law, and then everything is all dandy and unicorns. Okay, don't be lazy with your business. It's hard work, and you need to put in the work and ask the questions, and always make sure that it works for you for the right reasons, whatever information that you're taking into your business. Okay, including this. So as always, like I said in the previous episodes, take what makes sense so far, adapt it to your style, and then move on and learn the next thing, okay? So this also too, as I talk about bad clients, this is not going to ensure that you never run into bad clients. I think it's always a good experience to go through that. But it very well make your life and customer service kind of less stressful, okay? So those are some good things to kind of look out for. So those are today's themes that's going to drive this episode. Let me take a little swig. Hold on. Okay. So before I get into kind of a list that I have for you guys, okay, I want to just do a little house cleaning, okay, in the show. Let's talk about the group a little bit, okay? So number one, I want to make a mention and a shout out to David King for sharing marketing advice so readily in the group. And I could see you scrolling through there and sharing your tidbits and sharing some valuable knowledge and policing some of the people out there who still haven't read the rules, or maybe they just weren't aware. Another shout out to Brendan Hufford for calling out the image-like seekers. I love this. And, I apologize for not, just nipping it in the bud, but I really kind of like it this way, where a member, Brendan from the group spoke out and said, hey, what's up with these image-like seekers? That's not what this group is about, right? And that's right. It's not what I intended, and it's not how I wanted to run this group. So it just kind of got away from me. It's like it was my nice side, my my little, just being too nice, basically, and letting it kind of go and only approving ones that, was kind of random, whatever I approved. So thank you for speaking up. Thank you for demanding that we keep this strictly what it was supposed to be and keeping me accountable to that. So I appreciate that. And for everybody else who agreed with these guys and with what we're trying to do over here, thank you for seeing that and agreeing to that and demanding for that change. Okay. Number two, if you haven't read the rules, you're listening to this podcast though, thank you. I'm not going to read them here, but it's pinned to the top of the group, so there's no excuse why you wouldn't know the rules, okay? And if you need clarity about the rules, I will be more than happy to clarify it for you, or I'm sure David or Brendan can do that for you as well. And I love that too, that I believe it was either David or Brendan who suggested that members of the group help moderate the comments and the things going up into the feed, because I've basically made it available for everybody to post and not have to wait for myself to approve every post. So I appreciate that, you guys. You're taking on responsibility of moderating your group that you're a part of. So I like that. All right. Another thing, basically, if I could sum it up for you guys who maybe are going to be too lazy to go read the rules, just posting your subpar images in the group and saying, hey, what do you think? Or just putting it there for likes, right? That's not going to help you realize your goals. Honestly, let's be real. Does being real hurt? Yeah, sometimes it does. But I'm not your mom, so I could say that. And I could say that your images are subpar because you obviously agree that they're subpar. You're asking for criticism or maybe fishing for likes. And if you're asking, hey, is this good? Then you probably haven't done your own research in knowing what is good in your field. And that too is just lazy. So I'm going to call you out. Just like David and Brendan have inspired me to do so. It's just, hey, be honest, be respectful. I'm always going to be respectful to you guys, but that is the honest truth. So that is why this group is not going to focus on image feedback and image likes and stuff like that. Just floods the feed, especially if they're subpar images. Okay. Number 3 for the housekeeping. This will be the last one, okay? Oh, actually, it's just a thank you. I love that you guys help me police this group, like I just mentioned, and keep it spam free and knowledge heavy. So thank you. I appreciate that. So let's keep this going. I changed up the cover photo for this group. And I really kind of like, for 5 minutes, I was like, oh my God, what should I put here in the title? And I decided to put, let's go to work, because that's really what it is, isn't it? Let's go to work. It's not really about, building that little number of likes or, how many how many hearts can you get. It's about the work behind the scenes, and the hustle and the commitment, the determination and the persistence to use photography as a tool, as a means of making your dream life, whatever, come true, right? As I am doing at this very moment. Okay. All right. Another swig and we'll get into it. Okay. So let's get into some of the things that we do when educating our clients. Now, let's circle back and again define what it means to educate our clients. So earlier I said, if you educate your clients, you're filtering out bad clients, bad client experiences, and inevitably attracting awesome ones. Okay. So I didn't really define what a bad client is. Let me do that. Did I do that? No, I don't think I did. So a bad client, okay. For me, in my experience, and hopefully I don't run into too many of these, are the nitpickers, the micromanagers, the list givers. Actually, I'm dealing with that right now, but I'm kind of, just swallowing a humility pill because we have our established business and it's done its job over the years as far as educating clients and filtering out the bad ones. And now I've got to basically do that again with my startup. And so I'm taking kind of I'm trying to filter out who's going to be really, really bad or who's just kind of making sure that they can trust us. And that's why they're giving us lists and stuff like this. But yeah, bad clients give you lists. And the reason why they're giving you lists is because you haven't demonstrated, say, in your portfolio that you can take these photos. So I grant them those things. I think that that's okay. And I can still kind of let these people pass through my filter because I get it. I understand. I think it's validated. It's a valid fear that the client has. Another thing is clients that don't take responsibility for what they say. I had one client. I can talk peacefully about it now. But they wanted to order prints, and they said it was this one with this person in it, and it was actually the fault of both of ourselves because I had written it down in my notes and I made verbal confirmation of what I'm supposed to be printing. However, that did not match the memory of the client. And so inevitably, I was wrong. So, as far as dealing with things like that, and them coming back and not being satisfied, those type of clients. Another type of bad client is the ones that they expect something from you that you had that isn't really on your portfolio. Like they want a certain style from you that is not put on the blog or has not been, put out in the galleries and stuff like this. And so they're still trying to press upon a different style when it's like, hey, I think it's pretty clear, like this is our style. Why are you still asking me to make this whole photo black and white and keep the rose red? Like, please don't ask me that. That's insulting, right? As an artist. So those to me are bad clients. Now, those are not, like I said, they're not bad people. I just put them in the box where I'm like, nah, I don't want to deal with that. That's not my ideal client. So I put them in the bad file, the bad bucket, and then I refer it out. Okay. So that's what I mean by, a bad client. And you can put any name that you want on this person or on these potential, these bad clients. You can put whatever name you want in it. If you don't like the word bad, I know there's some like sensitive people out there that don't like certain words, so put whatever word you want on it, okay? Another thing, for good clients, right? The good clients are clients that see your art for what it is. They really see you. They understand that there's an artist behind the work that's being portrayed out there. They ask no questions. They just say, hey, I love your work. Do your thing. Can you please be my photographer? Now, every now and again, we get some of those who barely ask any questions, who bring cash to the meeting and are like, do it. Here's all my money. Let's go. Let's do it. And we're like, sweet, awesome. And more as we get established and we establish our name and we get the whole credibility and trust, that's becoming actually more regular, which is awesome. I love that. And being that we're almost 10 years in the game, I think we're kind of right on track. I'm not sure about what the time scale is for that, but I'm thankful for it. In the meantime, good clients are also people that ripple through their friends. So for example, you shoot or you photograph one person and then they tell their friends and then they love it too. And then they love it too. They tell their friends. And so I remember we had a wedding recently and all the bridesmaids were all brides of ours in the past from the last, 8 years of shooting. And that was just so cool to see. That's the power of good branding, and that's the power of good service and the meticulous eye that my husband has for his work and how we market it throughout the years, that it's been able to touch all of these people. And they all have pretty, high standards. They're all well-educated people. They all they're all actually nurses. So we can kind of see who we attract by educating our clients that way. Okay, so let me get into my little list here, as I have now demonstrated what I kind of define as a good client, bad client, and the fact that educating clients will give you more of the good clients, right, or the awesome ones. So there are so many ways that you can educate your clients. But there's something that you can affect right now without having a website, without having any social media proof, without having any video marketing or anything, or even a portfolio. You will need a portfolio eventually. That is crucial. But one of the best things that you can invest in right now is yourself, your own interpersonal skills. Does that make sense? Because everything that you are and how you present yourself and how you dress and, how you speak about your work, how you speak to them about your work, how you speak to them in your tone, in what you do and why you do it, can say so much to a potential client. Can they feel your warmth? Can they feel that you care? Can they feel that you understand what art is, and that you're going to capture the candid moments, that you're going to capture what it means and what it actually felt like to be there at this event? Can you show with everything that you say and what you don't say that you care about them and the product that you create? Will you take care of them in a sense? And after all, that's what business is all about, which is trust. Right? If you can get somebody to trust you in the product that you're trying to sell, which you are a part of your product. All of us who are photographers, we are inevitably a part of our product. Even me, now that I don't even shoot anymore, I imbue so much of myself when I meet with clients, and that sells them. Because and I've done certain tests where I'm like, super animated, super emotional, and really just trying to share, my experience as a photographer and as a wife and somebody who went through getting married and planning their own wedding. And I always share these things because they do actually mean something to me. And the potential clients, they feel that, they see that. And they love it. They always tell me at the end, oh, thank you so much for sharing with me, your side of the fence, basically, even though I don't shoot. All right, anymore, basically. So it's all about trust. So those interpersonal skills are something that you can definitely work on. And I'm not going to speak to you guys like I haven't, like I haven't struggled with this, because for the most part of my life, okay, like before I was like, let's say, I don't know, 29 years. For 29 years, I always feel a little bit awkward, and I always feel a little bit under par of what I can be, because I'm not naturally outgoing, but I was very, very shy growing up, very, stuttering, very naive. And so I had to train myself just how to speak, right? And I credit a lot of my self-training as to a reason why I can make deals and close sales now, because I have been training for a long time. And every time I go to a meeting, and every time I even have a conversation with somebody, it's a little bit of practice of getting out of my shell, becoming more interpersonal, learning how to listen, and using what I listen to my advantage as a person who depends quite heavily upon the customer service of themselves, and their artistry, right, in their work and in their job. So for those of you who are thinking, because I get a lot of that, Meg, you sound so good on video or whatever. And I'm like, well, I work at it. And thank you for noticing that. I always feel when I go back and watch my little vlogs, or I listen to my podcast, that I sound weird, and that my breath is not equally paced, which is like right now. But it's all a work in progress. But I think what's most important is that you are aware about where you stand and where you want to be day in and day out. So I'm always, for myself, setting little goals for myself to be better at speaking. And that's why I have this podcast, to push myself to keep speaking, because otherwise I'll just play video games all day, guys. I will. But I love to be here. I love to share what I've learned throughout the years, and I love that you guys are here listening. Okay? All right. So interpersonal skills, okay? So everything that they see and everything that they don't see, everything that they hear directly and everything that they hear indirectly, those are all the things that kind of radiate from you or not. That could be the difference between you selling yourself or not, okay? And selling your product, which is your photography, your work. Okay. Ooh, something more tangible, and let me get some water. Okay, so let's get to something more tangible. Like I said, how do you educate your clients while you're improving your interpersonal skills, right? We're never there. We're never perfect. And perfectionism is an illusion. It's an illusion, something that my husband likes to delude himself with. Perfectionism. All right, so let's get into some things that people actually see. I'm going to give you 10 things, okay? Things online that we all use, that we all should be using to our advantage. But I'm going to give you 10 things from what we put out there in the digital internets, okay? So number one, here's the list first, and then I'll go through all 10 of these in more detail, all right? Because we got about, 40 minutes? Cool. So number one, the homepage, meaning the homepage of your website. Number two, now these aren't in any order. I just kind of I was looking at all my stuff, and I said, these are kind of the most important things that I think help educate our clients and let them know, hey, this is who we are, and this is who we want to attract. Everybody else, you go away. Okay, so number one, the homepage of your website. Okay, number two, the about page of your website. There's been some debate on whether or not that's more relevant, but I think it's how you use this page. I'll get into that later. Okay, number three, the FAQ page, the frequently asked questions page of your website. If you don't have one, you should have one. At least have a little section, okay? Number four, behind the scenes videos. Behind the scenes videos. These are very, very, very awesome to utilize, okay? Number five, inspirational or industry informative posts, i.e., 10 hotel venues in Southern California for your big glamorous wedding. I.e., 10 free nature spots for your engagement. Yay, no permit fees. Article or something like that. Okay, so something like that. Number 6, pinning our photos with a concentration on what is being worn in the photo. So pinning meaning putting in Pinterest, right? If you don't know what Pinterest is and you're dealing with images, Google it. All right, you should be on Pinterest, basically, is what I'm saying. Number 7, featured on badges on your website. Featured on badges, i.e., let me see. Let me give you a couple here that we have. Our most prominent are Style Me Pretty, Wedding Chicks, Inspired by This, and Huffington Post. All right, so having those credibility badges, it's a second in the mind's eye of a bride, but it leaves a lasting impression. Okay. And number 8, having a solid and consistent social profile. All right, I'll get into that and what that means. It's pretty, it's not concrete. I'll get into that later. All right, number 9, a fast, all right, and professional looking website. Now, it used to be you had to custom make your website, which cost like $6,000 or something like this. All right. It's a little bit different now. I think what's most important nowadays is fast. All right. Is it fast? Does it load fast? Because, ain't nobody got time for that. Number 10, a walkthrough of the experience of what it's like to work with you. Okay. So we got 10 things right there. So we're going to break all of these down and what I mean. Feel free to take some notes. We're going to break it down. If we get into 40 minutes of content, cool. If we go over, then we go over. Okay? Okay. All right. I got to get ready too. Okay. So, number 1, the home page. So, for those of you who are photographers, you most likely have a website, right? Now, that website, you can go 2 ways about this. I didn't even touch on this, but the domain name. If you're in weddings, it should have the word weddings in it. I think that helps with SEO. And should is a very take it or leave it. Okay. But we chose to have the word weddings in it because it was going to help us with our SEO, meaning our search engine optimization. And I think that's still very, very relevant in this day and age. I don't think we have to go overboard by hiring like black hat, gray hat, white hat people anymore, like we used to do back in the day. I think we've kind of maybe not gone beyond that. I still think that's very powerful. If you know somebody who knows how to do that for you and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for it, then by all means. But for the most part, we're at a point in our business where we don't have to rely on that too much. But if you're first starting out, I'm not going to judge you for doing that. Okay, so homepage. How we have our homepage set up. And I'm not going to give you the link because this is not about pushing traffic to photographers. Otherwise, anyways, that wouldn't really make sense. You guys are all photographers. So what we do is we do a slideshow of our best images, the most grand, money shots, basically. And we do it in such a way that it communicates the type of style, the feel, the editing style, that we do, that we deliver on a consistent basis. And we try to highlight these in this sort of style. I call it the KLV standard, right? Kevin Levu standard. So I call it the KLV standard, and this is what we do. It's a little bit of candid nature. I'm not going to get into it. It's a slideshow, okay? And then in the home bar, we keep it pretty simple. I've only got 5 items in the home bar, in the menu. So I have an about tab. I have featured experiences. I have a gallery. I have information, and then I have contact. So I feel that those for us were the most important to have. And the more things that you have in your menu, I think the more convoluted it is. you really only want people to go to one place, right? Which is your contact. Like, contact me. You want to generate leads, correct? So everything about my website, I'm going to be indirectly or directly pushing them to the contact page if they like our work, right? If they like what they see, okay? So as I scroll down my homepage, and this will tie into what was number 9, a fast and professional looking website. We want to make sure that this homepage loads fast, like in a second. All right. If you take longer than 3 seconds and it's still not loading, one, your images are too large and the client may have already gotten tired and started looking somewhere else. You want your images to be optimized for web. Okay. And it should show a variety of your style and it should look consistent to your style. If you haven't figured out what your style is, you need to find it. You need to create it. I think there's really no way around that, especially, and I'm going to speak to you guys in terms of weddings. Okay. And even if you're shooting landscape, I'm sure landscape photographers have their own style, right? That may be kind of like, really? You're just shooting landscape, but I bet you, okay, anybody who shoots photography for, an exceptional amount of time, they've developed their own style and what they like to produce and what they like to shoot through or whatever, okay? Next, we get into, I get into what I've kind of renamed it, but it's basically a gallery. It's a blog for us though, but I've kind of renamed it gallery because I don't think a lot of brides necessarily understand that blog means our recent work. So a little workaround around that, if you still call your blog and maybe you're not getting too many people going there, like say you have a blog and then you have a gallery and you look at the data of your website and it says, hey, I'm getting a lot of hits on my gallery, but my gallery maybe isn't as updated as my blog. So in my opinion, as a photographer who's shooting all the time and wants to educate the client and let them know, hey, we shoot all the time. We do this regularly. We are full-time professional photographers. I want them to see our most recent work. Okay. So when we were calling it blog, they weren't really going there. They were going to gallery. So what I did was I just changed the name. I said, hey, I want people to go to my blog. How do I get them to do that? Change the blog's name to gallery. Change the gallery's name to featured, right? Because those are like our most awesome whatever. So, yeah, you want them to see that you're doing work all the time, that your last wedding wasn't 2 years ago. There are some photographers out there that's like, well, that doesn't exactly imbue a lot of trust in you as a photographer if you haven't even shot for the last 2 years, right? Am I right? Okay. Another thing is, don't crowd your homepage. Again, you want it to load quickly, but you want it to do a couple of things. It should be balanced. It should always be balanced, right? Balance in life. So with us, it's a balance of great looking photographs, money shots, blogs, money shots that lead into blogs. When I say blogs, it's like a full post of, okay, hey, we shot at this venue, and it has a little bit of text saying, this is what happened, right? These are the couples. These are real people. Be inspired by this. I also have articles within here that relate to marriage. So that, I think, reinforces the idea that, hey, we're a husband and wife team. It always gives clients a cozy feeling because they're getting married, right? And people who are getting married are ready to drop money and love to hear about another couple working together, working on their wedding. They love it. They love it, which I love too, because why else would I be doing this work? Okay. Another thing that we have, which I haven't looked at the data in a while, but we also have little blips into our most important pages, which are the about page, the investment page, like the information page, and then I have all of our social media stuff. And then we have our, what do you call these? The featured on, the featured on badges, the Style Me Pretty, the Wedding Chicks, the Inspired by This, Huffington Post. I have that there. And then I have a search bar, and that's more for myself because I like to, rehash old content and push it back into the feed. And then we have our Instagram, and then we have a little bit of SEO magic business in the bottom. So that's the home page. And the home page, I kind of talk about that first because it does encompass a lot of the things that I'm about to go even more detail in, like the about page, the information page, and the featured on badges, but we'll get into that. So that is the home page. So you want that home page essentially to be balanced, make a great first impression with your potential client. You want, for the first 3 seconds, do I want to look more into this guy or gal or not? That's it, right? That's all it is. Swig time. Maybe you guys can give me tips on, I always had a problem with this, speaking so like more than 30 minutes. And then I'm like, my throat hurts. It's probably because I'm drinking coffee and not water. Okay. Number 2, the about page. Okay. So I'm going to click into our about page. And there's a couple ways that I like to do this, and I think a number of ways are effective. It's just a matter of finding out what works for you, right? So as we have evolved, when we first started, it was just Kevin and I. And then when he first started, it was just him, right? And so as you keep expanding and you keep changing, you want to make sure that the about page does represent exactly who you are as a team, which can get annoying if you don't like to do website stuff, because a lot of times there'll be a photographer who just doesn't want to take the time to do it themselves or to hire somebody else to make sure that everything that they're seeing on the website is congruent with who they're going to meet in the meeting, on Tuesday afternoon per se, right? You just want to make sure everything is consistent. And the reason why I say this is because I get annoyed trying to update our about page all the time, every time we add a new member to the team or we offer a new service or whatever. But I got to tell you, it nips a lot of unexpected surprises from the client in the bud before you get into the client meeting where there's no questions asked. It's like, this is just how it is, right? So with the about page, I focus on who the team is. Now we're a team of people. And I keep it pretty light. People don't like to read too much. If they get past these first 3 short paragraphs, they're looking at more images anyway because they're on a photo site. They just want to make sure that whoever's behind the camera will match at the time of their engagement of their wedding, right? So they just want to make sure. And so very briefly, I go through who I am. And even though I'm not a shooter, I make it clear what I do within the company. And I think being transparent about our business and who I am and what I do and what Kevin does and what Jonathan does and what Jenna does and what Marcus does, I make it all clear, or I hope to, right? I hope to make it all clear. And then I use the about page. If they're interested, they get to this last paragraph and they're still engaged with me, I actually have a link to click to go learn more about the experience of what it is to work with us. So I'm not pushing too hard to the contact page yet, but actually I am. I did push to the contact page here. You can do it both ways. However many chains, how many links in the chain that you want to set up, that you feel you need to set up in order to get that lead, and you can experiment with how many links in the chain, by all means, okay? So I have pictures of us. I have pictures of us working. I think that's great. I love this stuff. I had to ask Kevin and remind him before, many years ago, hey, you need to capture us working because otherwise it didn't happen. We just have it in our memory, but the clients want to see, yes, you're showing them images of themselves and they love it. Or you're seeing the team doing these crazy feats of what it takes to get the shot. Or, oh, look, here's Kevin next to an elephant. Random stuff, like fun stuff that shows that, hey, we're a fun company. We're fun to be around. We take our work very seriously, but at the same time, We try to look good doing it. You can see our uniform this way, and you can kind of see and meet the team in these couple of images. So transparency, okay? And that's it for the About page. And as always, I have a link. I have a link out as to where I want them to go. And every page on your site should probably be linked to something that's going to help make their decision of hiring you easier. Okay. All right. So that's the About page. And you can get pretty in depth with this. I've been wanting to go more in depth with this for years. But you know, it's difficult if, for one, you have a partner that doesn't like to be on video. And that's basically what I want to do, is I want to do more video stuff and just be more transparent. But he's learning. All right, so number 3, the FAQ page. So if I go to my info page and I go to FAQs, over the years, you're just going to get a lot of questions, and you're going to get a lot of frequently asked questions. So why not take note of them and put them in your website? That way you can always just refer out and not have to deal with those questions later. Believe me, maybe you don't mind right now, maybe you only have 10 clients or so, but when you have 100 clients, you're not going to want to answer that email or that question or that text or that phone call 100 times. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so our FAQs are actually in video format, which I love that Kevin was actually game to do that. But video is maybe a bit of a stretch. I think people just want to scan it very quickly. So what I would recommend, you can have video, I think, where you need to explain something in detail. At the same time, I still think the good old-fashioned Q and A, typed out, Q and then here's the A, listed there for you so you could scroll very quickly and see, is going to be really helpful. And even if you put a search bar, actually, I think I'll do that. Put a search bar on the FAQ page. That way they can quickly find what they're looking for. Think of all those customer service applications that you have online. Was this article helpful, right? Okay, next. Behind the scenes videos. I just talked about this, right? So every time I feel that it will be useful, say we have a very attractive venue, or we haven't been at a certain place before, or we have attractive clients, right? Some clients you get, they're like model status. I'm like, I'm going to put you on video. These videos are really, really helpful. You keep it to about a minute long. You shoot behind the scenes. If you can get somebody to do this for you, like your wife, and do it for free, then that's really great. Really awesome, because you can utilize these videos, put on your website. You can make them work for you in Instagram, keep it a minute long. You can put some ad spend behind it. You can put in social and just kind of push traffic and attention to your work, right? And it's always kind of cool because it delivers the memories in another way that's really fun and shareable, versus for an engagement, for example, we deliver probably about, 200 to 300 images after an engagement, depending how long it is and how many locations we go. But if we have a video of that, it's a minute long, and we capture the audio, and we capture what it was like, and we capture the light moving through her hair and him lifting her up in the sky, all these things, it just gives another facet to remembering that moment, and it gives your company a bit more legs to stand on, because you have this other thing that's not even I wasn't even charged for that, right? And so it's a nice little happy surprise for those clients who get that. All right. Behind the scenes videos. Okay, number 5. Inspirational or industry informative posts. Okay, I've written not too many of these, but a fair few. And what I like to focus on is this is very, very direct in terms of educating your clients, right? So as far as I gave the example of, okay, here's 10 venues. If you're having a hotel wedding, I use that, okay, as a sort of backdoor way of promoting our company, and that we've shot in so many hotels in Southern California, and we know the ins and outs of that. All right. And so it helps our clients on saying if they want to do it at the Hyatt Regency in Costa Mesa or whatever, we've been there how many times now? We know that venue back and forth, that we're a good choice and trustworthy and reliable photographers to choose if you plan to have your wedding there, which that's just often the case. And a lot of the questions that we receive from clients are, have you shot at this wedding or this venue before? They always ask that. And sometimes we haven't, and we're like, God damn it, don't ask me that. Because we know if you hear a no, I haven't shot there before, that kind of puts a ding on our credibility and our reliability in that venue. So best believe sometimes we lie. No, I'm just kidding. We don't lie. But say it's like a hotel. I'm like, you know what? Hotels are really all the same. And they are, let me tell you. Okay. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can even do like DIY stuff for those brides that love the DIY stuff. So say you're already married. And you're a photographer, but you want to share how you put together your fake bouquet like I did, or you want to share how you did fake boutonnieres like I did. And you can put that in a post and post that on, whatever, all the socials or Pinterest or whatever as a tutorial. And then, hey, you happen to be a photographer who understands details, who understands this style, these flowers and stuff like this. It could be a lead for you. And I got a really cool validation of this. Whereas we got married at Colony 29 in Palm Springs. And I wrote this huge thing on it. Not huge, but huge for me. And I talked about my dress. I talked about the flowers. I talked about the venue and all this stuff. And I broke everything down. I can link it if you want to see, if you're interested. Maybe not. Maybe I won't. You can find it. Whatever. But I talked about that. And probably about 2 years later, we get a lead saying, hey, I read your article on Colony 29 because we're planning to get married there. Would you be willing to shoot our wedding? Now, we didn't book them because I forgot why we didn't book them. Oh, I think we were unavailable, right? So it wasn't a fault of our own. But there you go. That was a validation of writing something informative that meant something to me, not necessarily, hey, this is going to get us leads. I mean, yeah, I knew it was going to maybe get us leads, but it was just nice to get, hey, it does work. And it's happened like that a couple of times with even more emotional posts that are not even about a venue or about, locations or anything like that. I think I wrote about what it was like after the wedding, what it was like when we were having arguments as a married couple. I wrote about marriage and relationships and love. And that has always been something that the women thrive to, and they like to read it. And it gives them more of a connection to us. If anything, if it doesn't give you a lead, it gives you depth as far as a partner in as far as your role, being a wedding photographer, or being whoever you are in your business. You can write articles like this to give yourself more depth, more context, more humanity, as a person. And humans like to do business with humans. Okay. Number 6. Wow, we're coming up on time. Okay. Number 6. This has been really cool. So pinning our photos with a concentration on what is being worn in the photo. So after I blog for Kevin, I usually pin our photos, the best ones, right? And most likely I'm going to be pinning something that's going to be helpful to another bride who's like, dude, what should I wear for my engagement? I'm literally looking to wear something kind of floral or lacy or tulle or green or yellow or whatever. So what I'll do is I'll pin these photos and I'll make sure that I kind of highlight some of those things that the clients are wearing so that they come up in the search. So it's helpful to the clients who are looking for this type, of dress or this type of look for their wedding or for their engagement. And then vis-a-vis, it's connected to our website. You see that? So it's a win-win. All right, so that's pinning on Pinterest. Number 7. Okay, let's dive deep into the featured on badges. Okay, so sometimes you'll see this on other people's websites, like as seen on MSNBC or as seen on CNN, or something cool like that, HGTV or something, and that kind of gives you, hey, this person who has a HGTV badge on their website, they must be legit, talking about the home or talking about the garden or whatever, right? So same thing with us for the weddings. We really needed to be featured or to be published within these online blogs like Style Me Pretty, Wedding Chicks, inspired by this, in the Huffington Post. Now, how you do that, how you get published online, is by submitting your work and understanding who that online presence is. So Style Me Pretty, they have a certain style. They focus on details. They focus on very light, airy, almost overexposed photos. Just a bit. I don't want to say overexposed. Very light. Very shallow depth of field. 2.0 aperture and all this stuff. Okay, so if you're going to be submitting to these places, you have to make sure that your work kind of matches what they're looking for. Now, you shouldn't be too one way or the other. You should have your own style, but at the same time, if you want to be featured, like, that's what they're looking for. So if you understand, and there's tons of blogs out there to be featured on, and some of them are very stringent and strict, and some of them are really lax. So it kind of just depends. We actually have a page that we call Press, and we have all the other blogs that we've been featured on, like Fearless or Wedding Wire, and any kind of award that you can win or put next to your name is really great. So, like, what else do we have here? Little Black Book. What is this? Moment Junkie. Now you can write all of these down and go look up these publishers and see if they'll, like, what kind of work do they take, so you can start to accumulate these sort of badges for yourself. Ceremony. What do we got? Mod Wedding. In Love in the City. Wedding Wire blog. I said that already. Love and Wander. What else do we have here? I think that's it. So we don't have too many press features, but they really just give you credibility and help. And they also give you a little bit of an ego boost in saying, like, hey, I'm a published photographer, which is great, and that's what you should strive for. You can get recognition from your peers that your work is good enough, right? So that's great. And so you can kind of choose which ones over the years serve you the best. And if you want to get more Style Me Pretty brides, then you should be shooting that way, right? By all means, you can experiment outside of that, but whatever you submit, it has to kind of fit their style. So a lot of these featured on badges as well, I'll let you know a little secret. It's still who you know, right? So if you can network with those interpersonal skills, both online and offline, you can get into easily some of these blogs and have your work featured more prominently, as long as your work is good, right? Granted, your work is good. And when I say good, it's good enough for them, so whatever their standards are. Okay, so that's featured on badges. If you have any questions about that, just leave it in the group. Any of these, actually, if you have any questions. All right, number 8, having a solid and consistent social profile. So with Kevin, if you look at his Instagram, it's never filled with anything personal. It's actually very, very focused on epic moments, photography related, wedding related, and that's it. Very little is focused on his personal life, unless he has a very, like, awesome picture of me. And then he'll put something on there. There's no selfies of him. And so he makes it very focused for his business. And people can see the consistency between Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and then his website. So it all makes sense going into a client meeting. Hey, this guy's got all the boxes checked as far as social media. You don't want to be a photographer and then, well, I don't want to speak, for everybody, but if you don't have a solid social profile, meaning like you're not even, you don't even have like more than 20 images on your Instagram or more than 20 images on your Facebook, it's going to make you less credible. I'm not saying that's impossible, but people like to see all the boxes checked. They like to see that. And it may be even an unconscious thing. Like, okay, cool. I just want to make sure that this guy actually shoots and knows what he's talking about, or this gal, right? So having a consistent social profile. Alrighty. Number 9. Like I said, having a fast and professional looking website. So nowadays, like I used to say back in the day, this website actually cost us, our website actually cost us, not me, but it cost him $6,000 for this, plus design of the logo. Now, can you go into and do that right away and get your logo designed by a professional logo designer in the beginning? Sure. But I'm going to tell you right now, I think that's a mistake. If you aren't sure, if you're not validated in your work, if you haven't had a solid portfolio, if you haven't been hired regularly, then you shouldn't be investing in that. You should be investing, one, in your interpersonal skills and then your portfolio. You can straight up drum up a Word document logo, or if you're fancy, get into Photoshop or whatever, download some free fonts and create a logo that way. It's not that serious. What's more important when you're first starting out is your work and learning how to sell and learning how to close deals and learning how to present yourself, learning how to present your packages, all these things, what it actually takes to run a business, not your logo. The website, okay, you could spend a lot of money there too, but it's kind of the same thing. There's so many free solutions for people who want a professional looking website. It's so easy nowadays. However, as I say that, I want to steer you guys towards, there's Wix, there's Weebly, there's what's the other one? Wix, Weebly, like Square? I forget the other one that starts with a S. But there are free, things out there for you to use to get a professional looking website where it's like you just drag and drop stuff. However, I want to really steer you guys toward WordPress. Okay, like I've probably said 3 times now. WordPress because it's SEO heavy, and it works well for blogs, which is where you're going to be putting a lot of your content. And so far, and what I've been seeing and what I foresee in the future, not my, Nostradamus opinion, but like for what I first see, WordPress is not going anywhere as far as being a prominent, trustworthy, not all the times trustworthy, but being a prominent photographers based website. WordPress, okay? And it's got to be fast. So your hosting cannot be the cheapest shared hosting ever. If you're going to be hosting a lot of images, just make sure you use tools like JPEG Mini to optimize your images, and you're not uploading like 3,000 to 5,000 pixel images into your gallery, because it's just going to overload the server and it's not going to be able to load. They need to be optimized. So what works well for us at a maximum is 2,000 pixels. And then we have actually WP Engine for our hosting, which is expensive, but time is money. And so that's something that I think that you can work towards, but definitely be mindful about who you're hosting with and how fast your page loads. So if you want to check this, you can actually just Google it. I don't know exactly, but just type in something like page load time or something like that, or page speed page checker or something like that. Okay. Get creative, Google it. As my mentor says, like, Google that shit now. So, try to see how fast it loads. If it takes really long, it'll give you a rating. It'll say, hey, this shit's too slow. I mean, that would be funny if it actually said that, but it'll let you know. It'll be like red, yellow, green, or something. So it will give you a recommendation on what you need to do. So say maybe your images are too large. It'll be like, you need to make your images smaller or whatever. So adjust it accordingly. Do your best with it. Don't worry too much about it. Okay. But work on those things that you really need to work on, which is one, building a good portfolio, building those interpersonal skills, and all that other mess that I just talked about. Okay. Lastly, as we wine and dine, not dine, but like wind down to 59 minutes, getting to the golden hour, the walkthrough experience. I'm very proud of this. It's a page on my website. Not my website, but on the website that I made. It's basically a walkthrough, and it's very long. I call it like a power page, right? And it goes through what it's like to work with us. Now, is it complete? No, because I feel like I could say so much, but I want to say exactly what I think the client is looking for. So I talk about style. I talk about details. I talk about how we work, from start to finish. I talk about what we love to do, which are night shots. I talk about our credibility, so our awards, and being a Bride Choice Awards for, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years straight. I make note of our reviews. So we have many reviews on Yelp and many reviews on Wedding Wire, and that's where it counts. So many of our referrals and lead generation is from Yelp. So it's great. So if you're not on Yelp, you should get started. I have more badges. So I have 100-layer cake. I have Mod Wedding. I have Wedding Estates, HGTV, Ruffled, things like that. What else do I have? I have us working. So like just more credibility of us working on the job with real people. I talk about our editing process and that it's not too crazy. It's just about straightening. It's about having the right light. It's about sharpening a little bit, nothing crazy. Our timeless style. I talk about engagement sessions, how we go through with that and what our process is. I talk about our albums and our process with that. And then I actually go into what it's like to meet with us and that we have a studio and that you can go there. It's a real place. And then our promise. So what we deliver at the very end, these prized images that you hired us for. I talk about that. And then again, push to the contact page because I want them to, that's my call to action. I want them to do something at the end of being hopefully impressed by the work that we do. So that is my that's my investment. That's my walkthrough of our experience to work with us. And you can get so more so much more in depth with that. You can get so much more creative with that. And there's so much you can do. It's just a matter of doing it. And believe me, I have so many ideas. It's like I said, it's just a matter of executing it. But that's what it is, guys. So those are the 10 things. There's so much more. But we're hitting the golden hour now. So thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, in the group. Thank you for everything. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode. If you have any suggestions on what you would like me to discuss next, otherwise it'll just be sort of the lightning strikes and then I do it sort of deal that I always do. But anyway, good things, guys. A lot of good things are happening over here. Personally, we are in escrow. Kevin and I are about to purchase our first home together. We are anxious and excited. Him more than myself. I'm just kind of keeping my cool, keeping my patience until we get those keys, and then I'm probably going to cry my eyes out, and then I'll tell you about it. So good things. This has been the golden hour, and I'll see you next time. Later.